And the Londonderry School Board, if you'd all please rise. And Mrs. Mack, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, why don't we begin with our global award winners from LEGO, the Inventioneers. So come on up, kids. Before the meeting started, Mr. Robinson was commenting that those are certainly saving shirts. They're extremely bright.
I'm Emily. I'm Nick.
I'm Andrew. I'm TJ. Or Tristan.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Paige.
I'm Kate. I'm Sammy.
Well, good evening and welcome.
First of all, we'd like to thank the school board for allowing us to speak tonight. As you already mentioned, we're the Inventioneers, and we're our first LEGO League team, obviously from Londonderry, New Hampshire. And for First LEGO League, there are two main parts. There's the engineering portion, and that's for we build and program robots out of Legos. And then there's more of the science portion, which is known as the research presentation. For research, you always research a different theme based on that year's theme. This year it was power puzzle, meeting the global demand, and we focused on alternate energies, renewable energy sources, and also energy conservation. For our project this year, our team decided to do an energy audit at the Londonderry Central Fire Station.
The way LEGO League works is first, after you enter or register your team, the challenge comes out usually in early September, and then you're given, in New Hampshire, we're given a few months, and then you enter and compete in what you call a local tournament, which are qualifying tournaments which are held around the state to qualify you for the New Hampshire state tournament. And then the winners of the top awards of the local tournament, they qualify for the state tournament. And then the absolute winner, or the person who wins the Champions Award, which is the overall award, they're qualified for the international competition, or the World Festival, which is down in Atlanta, Georgia. And New Hampshire only qualifies one team, so it was really a great privilege for us, since we're two-time state champions, to go down to Atlanta. I know that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
During the year, our team made a curriculum to teach kids about energy. It includes the book we wrote called An Energy Land Adventure, and the game we made called Power Puzzle. Right now, it's being used at Londonderry South School to teach the second graders. Our team also made an energy expo, which is like, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, an in-school field trip to teach kids about energy. We had different booths about different kinds of energy. We had a booth teaching kids about light bulbs, a booth about solar, wind, and some others.
And now we're open for any questions you may have.
Great. Well, thanks. Absolutely. John.
I had the fortune of interviewing a couple of champions last year during the WLLO Broadcasterville Home Day. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what the project you were working on last year was, because that was pretty darn impressive too.
Last year, our invention, or the science portion that Sarah said, you have to either create a improvement to an existing technology that is already in the field that First LEGO League of Science in the beginning of the season, or a completely new technology within that field. So last year what we did is the theme was nanotechnology, and so what we did was we had a nanofilter, which was our part that was our nanotechnology part of our invention, and then it's called track etch, which is this new type of nanoparticle or filter. It filters out nanoparticles, and what we did was we improved it because this is different from other nanofilters because other ones they sort of act as sponges and absorb the contaminants that it's filtering out. But this new type, track etch, acts like a sieve, and so it can just be wiped off to get rid of all the debris. And then, so what we did is we made a device that can do that without any other power source, and includes a siphon, and it was we thought it was very unique.
That's
So
great.
you basically figured out a way to clean water without a power source.
Yes.
And that's all.
And the other thing that
something
we
like
did
that.
with our invention is last year we put a provisional patent on it, which gave it patent pending status for a full year. Also, on our safer water filtration system, as we call it, we are working with, what was the name of the World Vision, on getting it out to the people in Africa who really need it, because currently about 1.2 billion people around the world do not have access to safe drinking water. That's 3 times the amount of people who live in the United States. Oh, I mean 4.
Steve, you got anything? Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I've got one more.
Yep.
Your coaches won awards in Atlanta? Yes. As well, would you introduce them?
Come on, these children have done a fantastic job.
This is Mrs. Heimlich, and this is Mrs. Everts, and they're very nice coaches, and they help. And they help us a lot, and we couldn't have gone to Atlanta without them.
One thing is worth noting is Mrs. Everts at one time was the program director for Heron Cablevision, was it?
Well, well, you guys make us all very proud. You should be real proud of yourselves, too. You guys did a terrific job. Outstanding. So, if there's nothing else, congratulations. I'm sorry, I should have given you the opportunity before we started clapping.
I do want to make a couple comments.
Please.
The team all laughed because, as coaches, we really like to stay in the background. It's really all about them, and they're a tremendous group of children to work with. And one of the neat things, apart from us winning Coaches Awards in Atlanta, which we were not expecting, but this group was really recognized for their work in the community, and that the Innovative Solutions Award, that's a category of awards that really, it really only goes to kids who are making a difference. And this is a group of kids who are making a difference, and they'll continue to make a difference here in Londonderry and around the state. So I want to just say how proud we are of them.
This year, actually, there was another really cool project where we were actually were able to get on the town's energy committee.
Well, one of the things we're doing with our town in the town energy committee that was just started very recently, we're gonna do an audit of the town's senior center.
Really?
Oh, good for you.
How did that project get chosen?
Well, Mrs. O'Connor had she's the assistant town manager, and she came to sort of help the committee get started. And so one of the she eventually we're going to audit all the town buildings, but right now what they're doing is she would like to start with a senior center since it's one of the older buildings in town.
Yeah. Opportunity-rich environment.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Well, again, guys, you did great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Anybody else feel inadequate?
they could always come back on cooking. Right?
Yeah, challenge them to make a solar oven.
They'd come up with it. Jim, welcome.
Hello, I'm Jim Choquette, and I'm here tonight to thank the school board, the administration of Londonderry High School, and the town of Londonderry for the fantastic opportunity you extended to me. I came in September to announce that I had been the recipient of a grant from the United States Department of State through an organization called IREX, International Research and Exchange. And this allowed me to go from April the 4th to April the 18th to teach both teachers and students in Berdichev, a little village southwest of Kiev. Well, now that I've completed that 14 days, I have to say I've traveled all over the world as a chaperone and in my own private life, and I've never had the opportunity that you people have extended to me. Going to a very poor country, a country that, although I tried to learn the language, let me just say I did not become fluent by the time of my arrival, was a fantastic opportunity. Every day I woke up, I went to school. I either sat in or taught classes ranging from 1st to 11th grade. Now, these were English language classes. In a country of 50 million people that has only been independent for 17 years, their emphasis on democracy, their emphasis on the English language, their emphasis on trying to be like us is amazing. I saw a school that had no resources, a school that the teachers showed up every day, a school that was impeccably clean in a city that was falling apart. One of the problems in the Ukraine is there's not a whole lot of money for capital development. Everything that basically ended with the Soviet Union in 1991 has not yet been repaired. Buildings were physically falling apart. You would walk by rubble on your way to school. They had potholes bigger than New Hampshire could ever imagine, if you could call the roads roads. And then I got to school, and I saw these teachers and these students who were very much like our teachers and our students. Granted, their English was probably not as good, but then again, my Ukrainian was horrible. And one thing I did learn when I was there is the opportunity I had as an American teacher to go to a country that is transitional, as an economics teacher, to see how things were different, to live as they lived. I lived in this wonderful Stalinist apartment. It was built in the 1950s. It was falling apart. It was cement. The thing would never fall down. It would just fall apart. My apartment was probably smaller than the bedroom in my house, than the classroom I teach in across the street at the high school. The students walked to school, or the students took the bus. The bus fee for a student in Ukraine is 10 cents, or actually a half hryvnia. The fact that the children had to walk, that their families could not expend the 10 cents to get them across the town, which was roughly the size of Manchester, was striking. But every day they were there. The attendance rate was always 95%. You asked the students what their favorite class was, they said English. I'm not sure if that's just because I was in their English classes or it's because they really wanted to learn. And I just wanted to come here and to thank you for the opportunity you have extended to me once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Jim, if you don't mind staying for 1 second, I think John had a question.
Can you tell me, this may be laughable, but what the state of their technology is? Do they have computers?
It's probably laughable, the state of their technology. I got there expecting to do, I was teaching teachers as well, and I put together this fantastic PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
All right, and I had actually integrated a lot of the literacy campaign that we're working at the high school, and I was going to do this. Well, they had to rent the data projector. They had to find the cables to hitch it up to the computer, and then we realized something. Every time we tried to open a second window on their program, it would kick the computer off. All right, there was a point where we were a dial-up modem, and I don't even think it would be considered a good dial-up modem. We had talked to the Library Media Center about possibly doing distance learning, all right, between the high school and the school I'm at. And when I had emailed back and forth to my co-teacher and talked about technology, he's like, sure, we have the best technology in Ukraine. Well, they may have the best technology available for a school in Ukraine, but They had one computer lab. I mean, I look at the computer labs and the computer opportunities our students have at the high school, and then I saw the 4 computers they had in their computer lab and the hundreds of students that use them and the way they had it organized. The technology is way behind. I take for granted simple things like an overhead projector. If I want a DVD player in my classroom, I can sign up to get one. All right? When I thought, I would have an overhead projector, couldn't get one of those. I shorted out. By moving a computer to another room, we shorted out that room for my meeting, and we then had to go down the hall and readjust. So technologically, although the country may be advanced in some areas, Kiev is far more advanced than some of the smaller cities. Berdichev, and this is probably the best school, there are 14 schools, 1 through 11 in this city, very behind in technology.
So I guess you already looked at this then. There doesn't appear to be any kind of infrastructure available for any kind of collaborative or online interactive learning with them.
We had, through Sue Ballard, researched a thing called School Mail. School Mail is a site where students from Londonderry High School, without using their private email, would be able to set up an email account through this free organization called School Mail and be able to email back and forth. As long as I set up a teacher room and the co-teacher in the Ukraine set up a teacher room, we'd be able to correspond with no problem of our students giving out their information. Now the problem is our students will have no problem, and I had no problem setting up my School Mail account. One of my teacher workshops that I was going to give over there was setting up School Mail accounts for the teachers there. That soon became another teacher experience. I had to quickly, on my feet, change what I was going to do when I got there because their basically internet, their modem, their basically setup could not accommodate that program. So right now, it looks like we're going to be doing the old-fashioned snail mail correspondence with a school in Ukraine.
Pen pals.
What?
Pen pals.
Pen pals, exactly.
Well, you might want to think about video or audio programming as well.
That's always a possibility.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much once again.
Anything
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. And,
Chairman, I move the
no, well,
consent.
we got a couple others that we got late.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Elefante, I believe you've got.
Just the announcement.
Yep, please. And then Carol.
This is always one of the fun things to do, and that's to announce the top 10 honors students. These students will be recognized at the baccalaureate, receive their medals, and also be recognized at graduation and asked to stand up in front of the whole crowd at the Verizon Center. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity tonight to announce the names in public to the school board also. The 10th honors goes to Courtney Jewett. 9th honors, Shannon Chisholm. 8th honors, Kimberly Laurie. 7th honors, Kimberly Haddad. 6th honors, Elizabeth DeMeo. 5th honors, Kyla Dolan. 4th honors, Kristen Scheckenbergel. 3rd honors, Lon Gu. Salutatorian, Andrew Kearns. And valedictorian, Alexandra McKenney. So just one more thing to say, and I don't have the official numbers because we're still working it out, but this is quite the class. As you know, they've been quite the class since first grade. And if you remember, this was the group that we had to come up in elementary school with a new math program when they were in 3rd grade because they knew the one we already had. And not just these 10 kids, but this grade across the whole district. And from what I believe the numbers are coming out at, we have some 60 kids, I believe, that are 4.0 and above in grade point average out of this class. So I'm sure you'll get more information during the graduation and baccalaureate, but this is an outstanding class, and those 10 students I named are certainly the best of the best. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim.
Have a wonderful evening.
You know you're getting old when the salutatorian was one of your Cub Scouts.
Yeah, you tell me about it. Wait, you got graduation to go. It really gets
Yeah, I
worse.
know.
Mrs. Mack.
Good evening. I'm pleased to announce I spent the day in Concord today with one of our teachers, Pauline Pichette. She's an art teacher at Matthew Thornton School, and she's one of 25 students or 25 teachers in the state that have been nominated for Teacher of the Year. It's kind of a long process. They'll be winnowing down the list. They'll be coming up with 5 semifinalists, and then the final person will be announced in September. But we're very proud of Ms. Pichette, and I wanted to share that with the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Pauline is known in the school for being involved in absolutely everything. So thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Excuse me. Yep. And any other announcements? Mr. Young.
Just related to your school, this Saturday is the Women's Club Toy Swap. And this year it starts at 7:30 to bring your toys to donate to them. And it runs from 9:30 until 12. So it's a great place to get a great deal on a toy. And it's also, this year they're dedicating, the Women's Club's dedicating the funds to the new playground for Project Play, which will be constructed at the end of the month. So, thank you.
Thanks. And anything else? Announcements? No? Okay, consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move the consent agenda with the addition of Catherine Jennings in the resignation. She is the assistant principal at the high school.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. And just to recap our meetings before we take the vote, May 20th is our regular meeting here, 7 p.m. June 3rd, June 4th, an event you definitely don't want to miss, the adult ed graduation at 6:30 p.m. at the Londonderry High School cafeteria. High school graduation at the Verizon Center on the 14th of June, beginning at 2 p.m., and a regular meeting here on June 17th. Also, on the website shortly will be, if it's not already there, is a new schedule for school board meetings that will reflect the changes in the deliberative session from February 6th, 2009 to February 13th, 2009. So you may want to pick that up if it's out there. With that said, I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0, Mary, thank you. And we will move to the committee reports. And we'll start, Ms. Detweiler. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, this week was is a fun week for all the AP students. It's AP testing week. So I took mine yesterday, and before vacation was Mr. LHS, and Chris Bowen is the new Mr. LHS. He's a senior, and he won the hearts of the judges by singing A Whole New World from Aladdin. It's quite a show.
Yes, it was.
I enjoyed it. Prom is this Saturday, and next week the Student Council is going to the State House to meet with the New Hampshire Association of Student Councils. And it's all the student councils in the state meeting together and electing state officers.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Ms. Slozak.
Hello.
Hi.
Karen McDonald reports that the Festival for Youth met on Tuesday, April 15th after school to bake for the Sunshine Soup Kitchen and Dairy. They also participated in Beautify Londonderry on Saturday, May 3rd. They picked up litter around the high school and Matthew Thornton, as well as worked on the senior garden at the high school. A car wash is also being planned for them early in June. LHS teacher Patty Lawson and the New Hampshire BioConnect Club will be holding their first Science Day at LMS for the 6th grade class on Friday, May 23rd. New Hampshire BioConnect is a biotechnology student organization that was founded in the state of New Hampshire last year. And the purpose of this is to advance biotechnology scholarship, skills, and ethics in the state of New Hampshire. The Londonderry chapter of New Hampshire BioConnect currently has a membership of 29 students. The Science Day event at LMS is designed as a community service project for the group. The BioConnect students will work with the 6th graders to perform forensic science labs. The 6th graders will become forensic investigators and solve a crime by analyzing fingerprint, fiber, written, and DNA evidence in order to determine who stole a valuable object from a museum crime simulation. The Science Day will provide students with a great opportunity to experience biotechnology in a real-life fashion. In a ceremony on April 15th, the LEAP program was honored at the Department of Health and Human Services Bureau of Child Development by Governor Lynch and the early childhood community for maintaining its NAEYC accreditation. LEAP teacher assistant Aileen Kelly received her early childhood credential and was recognized for this wonderful achievement. LEAP will also be seeking reaccreditation in 2008-2009 school year as the 5-year accreditation period ends this June. This endeavor will require efforts from the LEAP staff, parents, and school community as the program seeks to maintain the standards that are nationally identified in those programs educating the young child. LHS teacher, English teacher Bridget Kilgore-Prue has been awarded a nearly all expenses paid study tour to China this summer as a result of coursework she has completed through the National Consortium for Teaching About Asia and its affiliation with the Five College Center for East Asian Studies. About 20 teachers were selected on the basis of essays and classroom work to participate in the 3-week session, and their focus will be on studying and experiencing the many ethnic groups in China. And I noticed today there's also a nice article on londonderrynewhampshire.net about Bridget's trip with more detail than what I was able to give you. On April 16th, students in Christine Dutton's Spanish 4 Grammar and Conversation had the opportunity to participate in a video conference with other Spanish-speaking students from Virginia and Texas. Thanks to Mrs. Jackson for making this possible. The students from this conversation-based class were able to practice their language skills in a real-life situation. Both class sections prepared PowerPoint presentations introducing New Hampshire, the town of Londonderry, life at LHS, and their own personal interests. At the end of the presentation, each student introduced themselves briefly in Spanish and opened up conversation with questions from the Texas and Virginia students. Video conferencing is a truly awesome experience for the students, and each year has been a positive and fun learning opportunity for those involved. Christine is very grateful to have had the opportunity to expose her classes to this, and her hope is to continue this learning experience in the future. The 8th graders had a wonderful trip to Washington, D.C. The children were even better behaved, and the weather was beautiful, and I guess it was pretty picture perfect down there. From the excitement of the medieval manor to the somberness of the Holocaust Museum, they were true ambassadors for Londonderry. They had a great visit with Senators Sununu and Gregg at the Capitol, and were even guided by a former Londonderry student. Special recognition should go to Laura Lambert for her tireless effort in putting the trip together, and to all the chaperones who kept the students safe and made sure the experience was a memorable one. The LMS PE department outdid themselves again, raising over $7,000 for Hoops for Heart. Congresswoman Carol Shea Porter visited the Thunderstorm team and answered their questions about everything from international relations with China to global warming. LMS held their first annual ping pong tournament. That sounds like fun. The tournament was conceived and organized by Harrison Max, a 7th grader, and he hopes to raise enough money to donate to the Jimmy Fund and also have a fun time with his fellow classmates. And with Teacher Appreciation Week just around the corner, 6th grade LA students wrote the description of a good teacher for the staff bulletin board. Some wrote poems, some narratives, and some recipes, and they said things like, what makes a good teacher? You might think it is what grades they give you, but you're wrong. A good teacher gives you attention. A teacher will not just teach for the money, but to show children someone who cares. And a teacher is not there for the free coffee and donuts. I don't know where those are, but to give a child the fun and advantage of learning. So it's nice to see that the kids have a real respect for the teachers at the middle school. That's it.
Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome.
Free coffee and donuts. I must have missed that day.
Me too.
Mr. Parker, you have anything?
Yes, and we've got to change this order. I don't like following Pat consistently.
Sorry.
I attended the South. No, you do such a great job, and I do such a poor job. I attended the South School Committee building meeting, and we approved additional bid tabs. I can say, on average, the pricing is coming in below the estimate, and so at this point, we don't see any problems with the project. And then after that, I attended the Budget Committee meeting and answered a few questions the Budget Committee had regarding financial issues related to the district. So,
Great.
that's it.
Thanks, Ben. Bonnie?
I attended the C3 committee, and we'll be talking about the middle school reading program later on, so I won't touch on that. And we also spoke about the world language program. And one of the things we should do is bring world language back to the board at some time in the future to a good presentation about the options that the children have and the availability. I think the public needs to be aware of the options available to them. Also, before this meeting, I attended the technology meeting. We spoke about the fast math program over at the elementary schools and how well that's working and how we're progressing on the X2 student management program, and that the training's going on, and that looks like that's moving along very well. I believe at the next meeting or the meeting after that, we're going to have a presentation on the computers for the summer, coming up with an innovative way of doing that instead of going out and buying boxes. So that should be interesting for the board. and that'll be a good presentation for the public also.
Great. Thanks, Ron. Steve, nothing. John.
One thing I'd like to point out is this is National Teacher Appreciation Week. So a quick round of applause for our teachers, I think, is in order.
I agree. So, thank you all. And unfortunately, I missed the technology meeting today, but Ronnie covered it, so that was great. And let's see, that's it. So we will move on to curriculum. Mr. Blunt et al.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to present this evening the Middle School Reading English Language Arts Committee recommendations to the school board. First off, the charge of the committee, they were charged to examine a variety of research-based programs from the major publishers as part of our ongoing cyclical review of our major curriculum areas. This process and selection of appropriate learning materials was focused on providing enhanced learning opportunities, strengthening our reading and language arts skills, as well as providing consistency both vertically and horizontally across and between grade levels, including transitions from elementary to middle school and middle school to high school. Additionally, the committee also examined the depth of progress monitoring tools and assessments upon which our teachers and administration can make informed decisions throughout a given year in curriculum and instruction. The committee was a hard-working committee. We pretty much met regularly from October up until most recently in April. Also, behind the scenes at department meetings, Mrs. Kalachi also worked with the committee behind the scenes. The participating members included representatives from the library media department, special ed, special curriculum, parent representatives, both reading teachers and language arts teachers, as well as a reading teacher representing the elementary level as well. We also had presentations from elementary as well as high school to discuss how the program would bridge. We heard from 4 major publishers. The committee examined approximately 10 different programs, both in reading, English language arts, and writing. The recommendations that they came up with are attached. And the first recommendation for the reading classes, this would be grade 6, would be where we would start in reading, as well as it would be a recommendation for 7th and 8th, is the Prentice Hall Reader's Journey program. I'll just read to you on page 1 on the white sheets, which is the first text initiative template of their recommendation. The committee is recommending the Reader's Journey as it closely aligns with the goals, benchmarks, and philosophy of the LMS reading department. The Reader's Journey is a novels-based, comprehensive, standards-aligned language arts program. It has a consumable student work text, which is an important feature of the program. It permits middle school students the opportunity to learn and practice a variety of literacy strategies and reading skills. Additionally, the text supports a library of 36 high-interest, appropriately leveled novels. Multiple references to the anchor book appear throughout the work text. Further, the committee found appealing that there are 6 book choices for every unit, making it easy to select a text for the students that will be level appropriate and engaging. Students will move from the work text, which will build reading and literary analysis skills, to novels specifically chosen to practice and apply these skills. I'll just bring up for the board just to peruse their first recommendation. This is for the reading classes. This is the student work text that you can take a look at. For the language arts classes, the committee is recommending McDougall-Littell programs. The first recommendation is the McDougall-Littell Literature Anthology. This is a comprehensive 6 through 8 reading, language arts, and writing program that provides evidence-based approach to reading instruction, guided by frequent assessment, which enables teachers to plan and to individualize for student learning. The program is recommended by the committee due to its noteworthy program consultants. Additionally, literature has been recommended due to the following reasons from the committee: strong essential questions, leveled readers that make literature accessible and individualized, thematic organization, balanced selection of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, drama, informational texts, and media forms, including contemporary literature. It uses what we already have in place across the district, the 6 traits writing language. Pacing can be designed to fit the current school schedule, the middle school schedule, and class periods. It also gives us the flexibility to continue with the personalized projects and those kind of things. Has a strong research process component, offers embedded literacy and vocabulary strategies, offers a toolkit of best research-based practices. It also has a strong communication, grammar, and writing models. After meeting with representatives at the elementary and middle school levels, the committee believes its recommendation will provide consistency both vertically and horizontally that will allow for continued acquisition of literary reading, vocabulary, grammar, usage and mechanics, and solid writing skills begun at the elementary schools, and provide necessary skills growth for success at the high school level. I'll bring up for the board to look at the literature anthology.
Thanks, Mark.
The last portion of the recommendation is the writing component to the language arts program. The committee is recommending the McDougall-Littell Language Network. This program, the committee is recommending it because it provides a variety of writing models and key concepts. Additionally, the program offers frequent assessment tools that enable teachers to plan and to individualize for student learning. The program is recommended again due to its noteworthy program consultants, and it also is being recommended for the following reasons: strong writing tools and models, ancillaries that focus on key aspects of writing, grammar, usage and mechanics, vocabulary, spelling, and research. It uses the 6 traits writing language. Pacing can be designed to fit the current school schedule and class periods. Strong research component. Offers embedded literacy and vocabulary strategies. Offers an electronic teacher tools and student tools such as the grammar coach, aligned to the state and national standards, as well as strong grammar and writing models. So that's a little overview of the 3 program recommendations. The recommendation for 2008-09 would be to implement fully the Reader's Journey, which was the first book I showed you. In the language arts classes, it's recommended that we would implement on a pilot basis the McDougall-Littell Literature and the Language Network. 4 class sets would be utilized during next year. We would also be given the opportunity to have online anthologies for all of our students. In the 09-010 school year, it would be our recommendation to complete the full implementation of the Reader's Journey, which is the consumable student work text with the novels based approach, and then implement fully the grade 6 language network and literature. In other words, we would purchase at that time student texts for all of the students. In the final year, at grades 7 and 8, the McDougall-Littell literature and language network would be purchased at that time. So it would be a phase-in over the next couple of years. On page 2 of your memo, I break out the costs. We have budgeted for the 08-09 piloting and implementation of the Reader's Journey. The 09 and 010 and 010 and 11 would need to be budgeted in those appropriate fiscal years, but I've given you projected cost of what those would be. I've also listed as well, at least going into 08-09, some of the cost savings that we would incur by purchasing the programs. At this time, I'll open it up to questions. I'll bring up the last selection that we recommended. This is the writing piece.
Thanks, Mark. And questions from the board? Ben? Ron?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay, great.
Right.
You're up.
Mark, I appreciate the amount of work that's been done reviewing this and coming up with recommendations. Just curious, kind of walk me through the process. What is the rationale for the change? Why are we going through this process?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. First off, this was part of our strategic plan. It's actually this particular portion is on page 29A of your strategic plan. But with the implementation of our elementary program that now has really a very strong components that's aligned both vertically and horizontally, we believe that it's imperative to continue this cycle, if you will, of implementing a language arts program, reading program for our middle school students that also provides for that strong consistency both vertically and horizontally. Also, I wanted to point out too, when I presented to the board last fall, and I believe it was you, Ben, that had noted this, some of the patterns of our assessment results, both Iowa and NECAP and the various instruments that we do use, we have seen a pattern over the last few years of a dip there in vocabulary. I know that was one of the things you had noted, comprehension and some of these other areas, and we felt that we needed to strengthen the transition from our elementary schools into the middle school. And I believe this committee, they really did their homework. They didn't leave a lot of stones unturned. They had former pilot teachers from the elementary came and spoke to them about, the pros, cons, and what to look for. They also had, on the other end of the spectrum, Dr. Susi and one of the English teachers at the high school also spoke with them to make sure that what we were choosing was appropriate as far as when kids were leaving 5th grade going into 6th, when they left 8th grade going into the 9th grade. So I think it was a thorough job.
When was our last adoption in this area for these grades?
This, and if you look in the text initiative template, The middle school, and Mrs. Kalachi can add if she wishes. The middle school programs, they pretty much use novels-based teacher resource materials. They use the Reader's Handbook, the Right Source. They use a variety of materials. It's more of a, if I'm correct, more of a whole language approach to delivering reading, writing, and language arts program. So this really makes the first recommendation that we're bringing to you of a core program in reading, language arts, and writing.
So, I'm not sure I understood the answer, but it created another question in my mind. Are we changing our approach? If we had previously adopted a whole language approach, I guess the question then is, did we come into that by accident, or was that a conscious decision we had made in the past, and now this is a shift in the program?
I think there's been a balance, and you know, going through this process this year at the middle school, I think there's been a balance. I think many elements of what we currently have in our reading English language arts program will continue to thrive. I think one of the attractive features of the reading recommendation was that it is novels based. A number of the novels that are in that program we already have and we use in our classroom. This kind of ties all the pieces together, so it gives us a better sense of how our kids are doing. It provides the consistency between the classes at a given grade level and across the grades. If I answered your question, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mark, one of the things I'm looking at this on the reader's journey, that's a significant ongoing cost. It's running somewhere in the area of, if I'm reading it correctly, the student work text, which I think this is.
Yes.
That's like $25 a book every year. Is there any way around that? Seems like it's like $30,000 or $35,000 as an ongoing cost for this. Or am I missing something?
No, I think you're correct. There will be an ongoing cost for that particular recommendation. However, I do want to add, and perhaps Andy could add to this, but currently our programs offer consumable workbooks right now. We utilize a vocabulary workbook and some other workbooks in our existing program, and this is basically trading those out and replacing those items with this core program.
So in the budget, we shouldn't see an increase in cost. If you're saying is the cost of the books we do now is equal to this $25 a student.
I think what you're looking at is there'll be some trade-off for books. You know, a vocabulary workbook that's $6 or $7 will no longer be needed, but you're only looking at a significant cost of the reader's journey at grade 6. So you're looking at about 400 students at $20, about $8,000 a year. Because grade 7 and 8, you don't take reading. The majority of those students
Smaller
are in
number.
world language, so you have a small population in reading, so you'd only be purchasing probably about 120 books at grade 7 and 8. And what the book does, and it does two things. One, it provides a framework to the novels-based program that we were using. So we get consistency, and one of the things that we've had to deal with a lot at the middle school is teachers being in and out for maternity leaves and things like that. So now at least we have a set framework that when you walk in as a new teacher with some induction, some training, and sitting down with Annie, you know where you're going, what you're doing exactly.
Yeah, 'cause
So it gives you that framework piece. But you'll see there'll be an increase in the budget. I would equate it to the Spectrum workbooks. Those are an increase to the budget that we see of about $12,000 for the middle school each year. But I think they've accomplished their mission. So the expense was worth the outcome.
Yeah, but I,
Yeah. Annie, could you come to a microphone, please, so folks at home can hear you?
The initiative is that we're trying to teach kids to be active readers, so we want them to highlight. We want them to write questions in their books, and that's an issue with us when we're doing content literacy, is that a lot of our textbooks, you can't do that, and we've tried some very creative, put a transparency over the book and let kids use that, sticky notes in the book. For some children, those are really difficult pieces to add. This will allow them, at least in their reading class, to do that practice right there, what we're preaching that they should do when they read. They can underline, they can take notes, they can write questions right in there, and hopefully then translate that later on in their studies. So that was another big piece for us, too.
on this, what you just, okay.
Yeah.
7th grade is not 420 students then, and then 8th grade is not 420. That's what it says in the paper in front of me.
I apologize, sir. That wasn't.
What-
There'd be about 120 children.
at
The rest are
maximum.
in world language.
Yes, that was incorrect. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Looking at about an overall cost, again, about the Spectrum workbooks, so somewhere around 13 to 15,000, depending on the increases.
10.
I think
Turn
another
about
strength with
15,000.
the combination of the 3 books was that it's allowing our language arts department and our reading department to coordinate more. In addition to social studies is also going to use some of the pieces from the anthology, so it'll allow for a better coordination, where in the past, to kind of address Ben's question, we did a lot of these same things. We had a novel-based program that was homegrown. We had a language arts program, as Mark said, that pulled from many different pieces, but it was a lot harder to get your hands on it as we coordinated department to department. Now with this consistency, everybody having these same pieces, we'll be able to do that more effectively, we feel. So consistency is a real big piece.
Thanks, Annie.
The other piece, the 6th unit in the Reader's Journey will become the guide for the research project that we do at grade 6, 7, and 8. So every student in the 6th grade is now going to have a framework for that research project, the personal project, and is one in both the McDougall-Littell and the Reader's Journey, but the Reader's Journey matches up very nicely with the Library Media Center, who is also on the committee, and they have recommended using the Reader's Journey for the personal project. So there really has been a lot of coordination with the committee to put all these pieces together to provide more of a framework so that parents and students know exactly what the expectations are and where they should be heading.
Thanks, Andy. John, you had questions?
Mark, you mentioned piloting at least one of these books. Could you give me a little bit more background on what that means and why we do it that way?
Well, I think first off, coming into this budget year, I had budgeted limited number of dollars for quote unquote a pilot or pre-implementation. Generally, when we make recommendations to the board and we go through the year, oftentimes those become the program that we go with. We kind of wanted to phase the language arts piece in as well as the reading pieces in, because there's a shift from the 6th grade year into the 7th and 8th grade years because of the foreign language piece. So we kind of wanted to give ourselves a little extra time to make sure that the 2 recommendations in language arts are exactly the pieces that will work best for those classes.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Thanks. Steve?
To follow up on Ron's question on the workbooks, I will say too that the $25 number seemed a little bit high, although looking at the book you can see, why they have to charge that. On the other side, though, my children went through the middle school, when we didn't have workbooks, and when I began on the board, we migrated to that. And it used to be a loose leaf paper system, and there's something about middle schoolers in papers that they cannot gather together that affects them in their psyche for the rest of their life. So the fact that you do have a bound book for the students this age that they can keep in one place, that they can keep track of, that they can write in, make notes and learn, that's a good thing. It'd be great if you got it for $10, but I appreciate and vowed that I would continue to make sure that those students had that type of resource. The other question I have is, it appears that all of these books, I was going through the internet, and all of these books have online versions. So we must be at a point where any company we look at is offering that capability, so that parents, students at home, they don't have to carry the books, they can get to it. Is that correct?
That is correct, Steve. It's interesting that you brought this up, and the committee asked me to query this with the vendors that we brought forth. The committee said, well, you know, why don't we just get class sets, and then we just get the online for the rest of our for the rest of our kids, and you know, so they don't have to have them. Well, it turns out that both McDougall-Littell as well as Pearson Prentice Hall, they charge you the same price as if you were buying the text. So you might as well get the text. You still get the online. So that's
Same thing the Eagle Tribune and Junior Leader does.
Yeah.
That's funny. I think we need to have the communications committee take a look at finding out how many families have working functional computers that could access this data. I think we need to get a feel on that.
We have that.
Yeah, I think we have that
information from the technology committee.
Technology group has it. So.
Another piece of that too, Steve, which came up, we had two parents on our committee as well. One, the parent of triplets, is that even if parents do have access, if they have multiple children at home, sometimes we can't rely on that child being able to monopolize the computer that whole evening to do their work. So we had to take that into consideration too, that even though there could be access, there might not be enough time for one child to have the access they need if all of their textbooks are online. So.
And I know in a past survey we had questions. You know, they had a computer, but we didn't ask if it worked and if it was on the internet. So.
The other piece, just to interject too, is one of the things the committee came up with was the idea of that a child could take the book and take it home, and we would have a class set. So that book that they're getting, we don't expect to come back to school until the end of school, so parents wouldn't have to say, you mean we have to drive back and pick up your textbook? You know, we're just going to say to parents, here's the book, it stays at home, and there's a set of 30 in class, so when you go into class every day, you take your number book off the shelf.
So you would have, I'm sorry for the conversational nature, but you would have X 100 books plus 30 extra for the class?
Yeah, the companies were very willing to kind of work with us to get business. So that was one of the accommodations we made so that that child is not constantly forgetting the book.
And in addition to the Health and Wellness Initiative carrying that anthology, I don't know if you picked it up,
Yeah.
but some of our sixth graders are very tiny, so.
Thanks, Steve. Ben, you had a follow-up?
I did. I guess going forward, and maybe you've already done this and I've just missed it, but it would be helpful to understand the rationale for the proposal. I understand you've done a lot of work with respect to reviewing the material and ensuring that it meets the benchmarks and goals of the district. But what I didn't see included was the rationale for the change in the first place. Is there a deficiency in our program? Have we identified areas? We've talked about these things now, you know, tying the program together, putting the material together in one book rather than different resources. But we're committing the district initially to a multi-year outlay. Once we go down this path, we've committed ourselves multiple years to this program. And I know that we've done a good job in past years in delivering the product at this level. So for me, there's this gap in this. I see this recommendation, and I'm not qualified really to say, I'm relying upon the experts in our district and go with this, but I'm asking myself, why am I making this change? I see the charge to the committee, and this is certainly a noble charge, but it implies that there's some problem, you know, in the current curriculum, which I really don't think exists. So I mean, for me, there's this gap. I'm going to commit to $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 over the next few years, and I'm asking myself, okay, I know this is probably a great program based on the experts in the district, but why are we moving this direction? Again, I apologize. You've probably already laid that out, and I've just missed it. But that's the part that's missing for me tonight.
Ben, your point's well taken. I'd be glad to, we could definitely add that to the initiative template, the rationale. I know that's an important piece that is not in there, and I think it's a valid point. I thought, when we went through the assessment report going into this school year, that you saw clearly the kind of the pattern of deficiencies of kids leaving our elementary school going into the middle grades. But we'll definitely include that in
For me, at least, you have to connect the dots.
Yep.
I mean, I would like to see, we identified this problem through our assessments. We identified these needs, and this is the money we need to spend in order to meet these requirements, and this is superior to any other path for these reasons. For me, that lines it out and justifies is the rationale for spending this money. So,
I thank you.
just me.
Thanks, Ben. Anybody else? Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the recommendations of the C3 Committee on the LMS reading program and the ELA Committee's recommendations on this.
motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a motion and a second on the adoption of the recommendation from C3, and I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Can we discuss that for a second?
Sure.
We're adopting this now.
Yep, that's what the motion is. And the
Yeah.
second, yes.
Is this something we have to do tonight?
I don't believe we are under any gun to get it done, other than I think that July 2nd, I saw a date, or June 2nd, I thought.
I just wanted to bring the attention of the board. It was in the templates, but I'll bring it so you're aware. We do have scheduled for May 21st. Pending your approval, we were scheduling initial training for the 6th grade reading language arts teachers. They were also going to begin development of the pacing guides. So we have that laid out as we go into the school year in the fall. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Would it be
Ben, please.
possible just to request that we get some kind of rationale document to support this change? I don't have a problem approving this, but for me, there ought to be some paper trail as to why we just committed ourselves multi-year to $300,000-$400,000.
it's not a problem, Ben. I can certainly
think
get
that's
that
very
to you, and if you want it, I can send it via email, the document to all of you.
Yeah,
that would be
and
fine.
that's fine, as long as we all get it and it gets into the
Yeah.
record, I think is
That
what.
would be
I
fine.
would just like to know why I
No,
voted
No,
yes.
that's quite all right,
All right,
Ben.
and I think that's very reasonable,
All right.
and
Okay.
We have another meeting between now and whatever deadlines are approaching, do we not?
No, this is fine. We can approve it tonight.
You're happy with that?
Yeah, I am.
what's today, the 6th? So 2 weeks from now is 20th, so it would be tight if we had to pull a plug, but.
I think the issue that Ben brought up was basically just a clarification
Yep.
on the rationale. Everybody was fairly comfortable with it, and I guess our preference would be that the board would take action on it this evening.
Should make that document available to the public.
Yeah, and so, Ben, I think that's a great idea, and I think that's fine. I think we can indeed move ahead with the vote, and I just also, since we're discussing it here, if you could make that information available to the public as quickly and as readily as possible, that would be a good thing.
Can I ask one other question?
Sure.
So, because we're committing ourselves to multi-years here, because the first step is 2008, 2009, Reader's Journey, Literature, and Language Network. You're comfortable, or you've implemented or feel comfortable that the implementation phase will go fine with this step?
Yes.
And we won't be sitting here going, gee, we need to change, this didn't work out like we thought it would, and
It's so close. It really is what we
Yeah,
already do.
yeah.
We have, in fact, many of the novels, I think Mark mentioned that we currently teach, we didn't have to purchase because we already owned them. It's really just a
yeah.
formal framework for what we already do so that it allows that consistency that we've been speaking of.
And I do, unlike some of our other study committees, there was really strong consensus among all of these recommendations by the teachers, by the parent reps, library media specialists, the special ed representative. So I think it's a really solid recommendation. We will, like Ron is aware, at C3, we will be providing periodic updates, just like we've done with the elementary reading program throughout next year. So you get to stay on top of what's going on.
okay.
Comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay? 5-0. So thanks, Mark. Thanks, Andy. Annie, thank you. And Nate?
Yes, you have in your packet the April enrollment report. Pre-K through 12, special ed out of district, home study students and adult ed gets us to 5,415 compared to 5,424 last month.
Any questions for Nate on enrollment?
Nate or Zach, on the elementary enrollment, not elementary, kindergarten enrollment for next year, where are we standing with those numbers?
285 kindergarten,
Okay, thank you.
which is running about the same as we had last year at this time. We always seem to pick up a bunch of people in the summer.
Yep. Yep, well, that's when
And
people
right
move,
before
so.
school, all of a sudden, somebody goes, ooh.
I gotta register.
Maybe I will send them to school after all, yeah.
I've had him all summer, and maybe it's a good idea. He go someplace else.
We're gonna hold on to them, but not anymore. Okay, anything else, Nate?
That's it.
All right, thanks. So we will move on to deliberation and begin our discussion with, where we left off with 1025, which, if you remember, is a process that I think we'd like to follow to get together with the town council and work on a few areas of collaboration and some identified savings, if you will, moving forward. So with that, I think the things that we want to do is come up with the areas of discussion and any of those targets. So anybody want to start us off?
I guess I will.
All right.
One of the things I'd like to see, and I know we speak about 5 items, what I'd like to see us do or suggest to the council is that we pick a single topic and focus on a topic and bring it to conclusion, instead of having 5 and shotgunning the approach. We may have 5 topics and say, okay, Nate, Dave, here's one that makes sense to work on. Let them bring that to conclusion, then we'll pick up the second topic and work on that, instead of having 5 fires and going at the same time and tying up people all over the place. We just focus on one topic. That would be a suggestion that I would ask the board to consider to the council. The areas that I would like, and come up with 3 areas would be technology, facilities, and the access center. I think of 3 areas that we can start with. Pick one of them and focus on that. My preference would be to focus on the technology one first. I think there's chances of a savings on there.
Ron, would it be out of where you're going if we said, yeah, these are the 3 or 5 areas, but this is the priority that we think they need to be worked on? Is that really what you're talking about, looking for prioritization?
I don't want the administration on both sides to go in after 5 things and we say, okay, report back on 5. What I'd like to say is I want you to take one of these subjects, drive it to conclusion so we can tell the community, here's the answer on this issue you brought up, we spoke about it, and they say, okay, this is the game plan we have, and bring it back to the board. And then we say, okay, we have these other issues, now work on this one here after this. instead of having 5 and we get to budget time and we just never quite finish on one issue. That was the issue. I wanted to bring it to completion.
I picked 5. Actually, it started out as, I think I had 2, and then it went to 3, and then it jumped to 5. The reason I picked 5 was just some different items that came up. Those 3 were on my list. But my thoughts on it were that there may be items that the 2 boards could not come to agreement on, that those would be good areas to work together. And actually, I didn't think that we would be successful in setting people off and setting our CEOs off in a direction to work together on all 5. I mean, your concept is interesting, of focusing on something that we could be successful on and doing it. I would want to Ben's point the last time, make sure that the one we picked was going to give us some bang for our buck.
No, I agree. And the idea is that we may get in a frenzy that, hey, and the community's expecting that they're going to come back with 5 answers. Or
Yeah,
4
but in this meeting, we'll share, or, you know, and they may come up with different ones.
Right.
We will share all the ideas, and then you're thinking maybe
target a single one.
I just would like to make sure that we, if we targeted one, I'd like to make sure that we're successful at it, or you know,
Well-
have a good chance of success. Otherwise, target 2. I was thinking we might end up finally on this with 3, and 2 might work and 1 might not, or some mix thereof. So.
All I'm concerned about is bringing something to conclusion.
Yep.
That's where I want. I want to see an end product at the end of this.
Right, and I think, you know, coupling that with, you know, Ben's suggestion from, you know, the previous meeting with a hard target that sits there and says, yeah, this is what, you know, we expect, or we expect to see. Going forward, John?
I think that the 3 that Ron mentioned are good. I'd also like to suggest that there may be some collaboration in the area of libraries that might be appropriate to look at. The one thing that I don't think I necessarily agree with is the priorities. It seems to me that of technology, facilities, and access center, the one that has the most direct impact on services delivered to students is going to be the access center. Maybe that's something that we'd want to make a higher priority. I don't know whether I should pursue this or recuse myself, but I kind of wonder if either Mr. Elefante or Mrs. Ballard have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with the discussion, because frankly, until we get with the council to set a priority, because they may have a completely different set, and we're gonna have to reach consensus and, you know, agreement somewhere along there. I mean, I don't think that's an issue. The one thing I will say about the libraries is, I believe that we then have to deal with, you know, the library trustees as opposed to the town council. Is that correct, Marty? Oh, Paula, hi. I didn't see you there. So, yeah, so, I mean, you know, I certainly have no problem with that. My personal opinion is that school libraries serve a completely different purpose than public libraries in many instances, but.
That may be true,
you know,
but a lot of the operational
just-
issues and
yeah.
skill sets are probably
And
overlapping.
I think there's the same thing we can find in other areas. There very well may be. So I'd certainly be willing to, you know, look at that as well. Ben, did you have any thoughts on areas? No?
Ron's covered it.
Okay, great. Steve, anything else?
I think the intent of this was to throw out areas. Now, before everyone gets shocked, I'm going to throw out some extreme out-of-the-box areas, because I think that that's a good thing to get conversation going. Technology, facilities, access center, we're all good. I think John's comment on libraries, there may be some procedural issues or governmental issues there, but it was great to bring it up. I'm going to bring up the areas of finance, of personnel, and office space. Finance and personnel are pretty self-explanatory. And office space, what I'm talking about there is we know that our district office is substandard. We know that it's pretty crowded in there, and it's in the plans for the future. I'd like to look at the possibility of consolidations within this facility or within this campus or within this shell.
Okay. So we end up with technology or RT facilities, the access center, finance personnel, which is, or HR, I guess, which is, kind of administrative
And it-
functionality.
And some of these may not
Office
may not
space.
work.
Well, they
but-
may not work, and I think it's certainly open to, sitting with the council and discussing. Now, the one thing I do want to make sure of is that we're all in agreement that we want to move forward. Now, I know, Ben, one of the things that you had mentioned the last time we were together is you were really looking for a specific outcome of the meeting with the town council. So I think what we would end up with, and tell me what you think, is we'd end up with a few of these areas to send Nate. And what I'd like to do is follow up with your thought process and say, yeah, if we're going to look at this, we expect to see this amount, or we expect to see this result. But I'm not sure we can walk in with that unless I'm missing something.
Well, I am not looking for a cut in services on the school district side.
I agree.
So if this conversation is
Absolutely.
about improved efficiencies, I'm all in favor.
Yeah, and I think that's what
I'm
we're
only
talking
interested in going through this process if through improved efficiencies, there is significant return.
Yes.
I'm not interested in picking up $1,000 or $500 here.
No,
there
and I think we're all in the
devoting
same-
$5,000 trying to find it.
Yep.
So as long as we're not cutting services, I'm
No,
just not, I'm just not to the point where I think we're going to should cut
No,
services.
and I don't think anybody sitting here is of that mind. I certainly can't speak for the council, but I know that, we're certainly not looking to cut services in any way, shape, or form. Now, I know I only caught, Marty, and you can jump in if you don't mind. I know I thought I heard you last night on TV throwing out a couple of dates.
Yes.
Do you have those? Because I unfortunately, I just walked in the door and heard you with dates, and I assumed that this what it was about, but I wasn't sure.
I had them written down, I don't have them, so I'm gonna have to go by memory.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, you and I can correspond, so that's not an issue.
We were looking at May, by the way, the council's going to summer schedule, so Monday nights is gonna be open because of council gonna come and so forth. We were looking at May 15th or May 29th as possibilities.
Okay.
Or also, certainly, if you have a Tuesday night that you are not having a meeting, that you might want to have a meeting, then that would be another opportunity.
Okay. So 15th, what 15th is a
15th
is a
and
Tuesday?
29th are Thursdays.
Thursdays. Okay.
15th will be good for the board.
Okay. So the 15th.
29th, I know I'm not around, I'm going to be traveling.
Okay. So that may not work. If we look at the off Tuesdays, which would make it, I'm thinking it must be, well, next week is the 15th, we already know that. Oh, no, what, is the 13th? So maybe the 13th. Tuesday after that, we've got a meeting. What about is there another Tuesdays, which would make it around the 27th, maybe?
Again, I'm
You're out that
whole week, yes.
Okay, so,
You're busy the 20th.
yeah, the 20th, we've got a regular, a regular board meeting. What about?
You want to push it to June?
Yeah, but maybe the first week of June. I don't want to get much beyond that. What do you? When are you going to your summer school? Well, when do
Starting
concerts?
June.
Okay, so Thursday, June. What's that first Thursday
First Thursday is the 5th.
in June? And we probably have a meeting on the 3rd of June, right? Okay. Is everybody here comfortable with June 5?
Sure.
So
I'll
we'll
bring
throw
that
that
back
out
to council.
if you don't mind, and then if that doesn't work out, we'll have to work something else. And, we've certainly appreciate you coming out and reaching out, and I think you know, this is the right thing to do for the taxpayers, and I think it's time that we should start showing some leadership and move forward with these things, so I'm excited.
Just want to make a suggestion.
Yeah,
I've talked
absolutely.
to nobody else about this here. I just happened to mention it to Jay, who happened to be in the back of the room. Since
Yep,
the school board has their own perspective.
yep,
Council has their own perspective. Budget committee has none, or should not have any, dog in the fight, not yours or not ours. So I would like to invite them to be there at least, so to hear what we have to say and maybe comment. I mean, a lot of these people in the past have been involved in trying to look at other technologies as well. So we have that resource, and I'd like to just make a suggestion that we might at least invite them to be there for it.
yeah, I mean, I certainly think, and I'm, again, like you, I'm speaking for me.
I'm speaking for me.
1/5 here. To me, this is an open process, it's a public meeting, and, you know, should be handled as such. I think that the intent is, just like you say, this is, you know, that particular group's got no dog in the fight. But the two folks that we're gonna charge with these things
Right.
work for those 10 individuals.
Exactly.
So I mean, I've certainly got no problem, and like I said, it's a public meeting, I don't, anybody else have an opinion on that up here?
I struggled, when I thought about the concept, I struggled with the inclusion of the Budget Committee. I was on the Budget Committee for 3 years, for a term, and it was a great experience, and I felt that you get to see a lot more between the two organizations. The only reason that I didn't have that as part of the proposal is I really wanted, to Ben's point, to have a targeted mission to not be discussing a pile of items, and I wanted us to give direction that evening to our CEOs to make it happen, and not create study committees and, you know, work teams, and I wanted to get it moving. So that's the reason.
That's fine with me. Whatever. It was just a thought.
Okay.
The process of thinking about how best to do this to make sure that we covered every opportunity.
See, the way it'll work, the way I envision it working is, we have 5 here, 5 there, a CEO. We have the conversation, we tell them to go and do the job. So,
Okay.
and then they come back and tell us.
Ron had
That's fine with me.
Marty, do you have another meeting? Obviously, you're gonna have another meeting between now and our meeting on,
June 5th, well,
June
he's gotta
5th.
get that approved,
Yeah,
so.
we have, well, we've got that joint meeting coming up, the presentation meeting on the 12th, is it the 12th?
here's what I'm wondering.
Following Monday, we also have a meeting, so.
Here's what I'm wondering, Marty, is like, we came up with a list of straw dogs here, the council come up with them, and if they can, if now the 2 CEOs can take a look at what common ones that are on both lists, and come up with a little background of, hey, these here make sense to start with looking at, that there may be some area, and we could talk like that, so they can do some groundwork on that, even before the meeting. So, you know, if you guys come up with, let's say, IT, office space, and personnel, and we've got that on, let's say, okay, those are 3, you know, what can you guys gather, so the meeting, we're not developing from ground level, so it's something that you might want to consider.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea, and maybe if you can feel out that June 5th date, we can get that onto calendars, so
I will do
we
that
can get a
tomorrow,
crowd.
Actually, I'll
Great.
contact everybody tomorrow, and let them know what we discussed, and the 5th, and also the 5 or 6, 7, 8 items that you
Yeah.
guys have kind of thrown together, and ask them for the same.
Great. Thanks, Marty, appreciate your time. Okay, moving on, let's move to YMCA contract.
Yes. I didn't notice going through the packet, I didn't see the rate sheet. Probably one of the most important pieces of paper. Although I did mention there was a 4% increase. In the audience is members of the YMCA staff.
Got more of those?
I'm sorry, I got a whole bunch of them.
Okay. Thanks, Peter.
Members of the YMCA, why don't you come up and find, if there's any questions the board or audience has, you'll be at a microphone. For those that were here a few years ago, the board approved the YMCA, the Nutfield YMCA at that time, before and after school contract a few years ago for the Londonderry School District. If I remember correctly, at the tone of the meeting, the standing board at the time was in agreement that so long as the Y meets some critical conditions, i.e. pricing, quality of program, safety of students, probably the three largest ones, that they were all in favor of establishing a long-term relationship with the Y and moving forward with the before and after school programs that were provided in the elementary schools for several years. What this contract before you is to pretty much accept the 2-year options or lay out the pricing of the 2-year options of the existing contract that we have now, and then add 2-year option after that, so we have, for lack of a better word, I'll call it a rolling contract. Every 2 years, the Y will come in, update the pricing, but for the most part, the contract and the agreements, unless something happens, would probably be the same. It will be just talking about programs as the times change and pricing issues as we go along. At least that was the tone of the standing board back when we first came here. I need to let everybody know that the pricing that you see here is not by the operating budget of the school district, tax dollars, so forth. The school district basically acts as a third-party administrator to provide the families of Londonderry a before and after-school program, and we allow, or the YMCA, if the contract's approved, to come on our grounds and act as and provide the before and after-school program with the terms we lay out. But the individual families are the ones responsible for paying whatever program, 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, before after school pricing. As in the past, and I'm sure in continuing, the Y does have a financial aid or a scholarship program that they have used in the past for those families that have a hard time meeting the pricing of the various programs. We have representatives from the YMCA here, as well as myself, to answer any questions the board has regarding either the pricing or the program, the safety of the procedures that the Y provides, in hopes that we can approve this for 2 more years and then establish a rolling contract with the local YMCA.
Okay. Thanks, Peter, and I think what we'll do is go to the board and see if they have any questions, and then go to the public to see if they've got questions or comments. Anything?
Yeah. Have the proposed rates been posted? I mean, so that the public knows that this is in play?
Well, the agenda is posted, and the agenda for the YMCA contract is part of the public agenda.
Okay. So, but do the people who are currently participating in the program know that these rates have been posted or proposed?
Probably not. I don't know that.
Yeah, we are proposing this to you initially, before we go any further.
George? Based on exactly that point, I'd like to suggest that we move this forward to a future meeting at which some of the people who are directly affected by these rate changes would have an opportunity to speak to them.
We have at least one parent here this evening.
Yes, I understand that, but my concern is that there are a lot of parents who weren't here. And from what I understand, Mr. Carroll having just said, not having the data at their fingertips, I think that we owe it to them, we're responsible to them to put this forward so that the press has an opportunity to run the story, and people who might be impacted have an opportunity to comment on it before we make a decision. Although it's not school district money, we're acting as their agent for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. I would prefer that they comment to the Y. I don't know if this is the venue
right
for the Y, for them to discuss a 4% increase in the proposed rates to the Y. But I think that's an internal conversation And I don't want the room filled up with people complaining about a 4% increase to us, because it's not our, I don't know that's our responsibility, but
Well, I think,
If
John.
I have to vote on it, it's my responsibility.
And then complain to the why.
Yeah, I would,
Okay, I don't want to vote on this.
well, you can vote as your conscience chooses you to vote, so. I mean, I appreciate where you're coming from, but I think Ben's right. I mean, we're not setting the rate. The Y is setting the rate, and that's a discussion parents should have with the Y. It has been posted. I mean, it's out there. Well, the rates may not have been posted, but the fact that the contract is on the agenda is out there. So,
But
yep, go ahead.
That being said, the Popular Street Committee says that this ought to be, hasn't got sufficient visibility yet. I mean, I think the Y has to have that conversation with its constituents, and then come back and we can approve it.
So
I just don't, we're not, and I just don't want to be in the position of arbitrating a 4% rate increase. That's
No, and
something the Y should
I
be doing.
agree with you. I mean,
But-
I think that's between the Y and its clients, not
Right.
between the school district. While the school district may act as a agent, if you
Right.
will, for the constituency, but they need to discuss it with the Y, so, yep, go ahead, Peter.
And I will say that myself, Nate, and members of the Y staff did have conversations on the programs. We provided some suggestions on keeping pricing as best they could because of the issues that John and I think Ben are raising. And that is where the 4% increase comes in. I think this is, from what we know, this is consistent to what is in the market, as far as I can tell. It's hard to tell exactly who's got what and who's doing what in before and after school programs. But I think this is the wise, to John's point, I think this is their best rate or program pricing that they've come up with in order to provide the level of staffing that I think we want and provide a sufficient return on what they need on what they need.
Well, any other comments from the board, Ron or Steve? Ron?
Again, I would like to get the pricing out to their people, send it out to theirs, but as you said, Ben, we're only approving the contract. We're offering a service, is the way I look at it, to the community, and we're using our facilities here to give a reduction in cost, because there's no cost associated with the maintaining a building, to the community, just as a convenience, so they have a spot to have their children before and after school. So I think that's the service that we offered, and that's what we were doing. We had a for-profit group and organization in here previously. So that's what I'm looking for. I do think that the public needs to be aware of the pricing or their people, because they are our students, and to provide feedback for that. And if the feedback is big enough, they will come here and say, you should be looking for somebody else, if it's out of line what they think it should be. And we would see that, and then we would have to make a decision that if we go out to open bid. I think that's the request that they're looking for. So I don't have a problem postponing this for one meeting, have them go back, have a letter sent out to that, and at the next meeting, we'll see what happens. But first comment should be back to the Y.
No, I agree with that.
Okay with me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think you guys should probably then discuss it with your clientele, that these are gonna be the rates going forward. Certainly if you can get it done in 2 weeks, we can, vote on it in a couple weeks, and then, we'll open it up again to the public as I, would, and we'll see who arrives, so I think that's the consensus of the board pretty much.
Can I?
Yeah, 1 second, John, I'm just gonna go. John?
I just want to be real clear that I'm not saying that I think these rates are improper or
Right.
extraordinary or
Understood.
anything of the sort. I just will feel more comfortable having not taken an action that would effectively preempt people from commenting on it before we do.
No, that's reasonable. Ben?
I was going to say the same thing. I'm not opposed to this at all. I just think it needs disclosure before we approve it. That's all. I'm not.
It's more than fair.
I appreciate you coming to the board first with the rates. Sometimes the 5 people up here have different decisions, if you went to the public first and then came to us. So it's very hard to read what we want, especially after 2 years. So I appreciate that, and I understand the position we kind of put people in at times. But I thank you for coming here first. We understand that this board here is saying, please go back and tell the people that you have someone in the back audience.
Yeah, I see. So at the moment, I know I've got at least one individual here who wanted to make a comment. Is that correct? So would you come forward and just give us your name, your address for the record, and we'll hear what you have to say.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Creed. Are you Mary?
I'm Mary.
Mary.
Mary. I'm
Nice
Lisa
to meet you.
Fitzgerald.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Same here.
Looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you.
I had a great conversation with Mary on the phone, very enlightening about my concerns with the YMCA that I encountered last year, which I don't really want to rehash. But she alleviated all my concerns in considering enrolling my son in the after-school program next year. However, there are some changes that I would like to recommend, and I don't know if this is the venue to do it or if it's to do it later, but I do, as a parent, have some suggestions and still some concerns about the morning program and the afternoon program. But on the whole, I think it's a great service to the families. I definitely need it. Adrienne is great in the morning. She runs a tight ship with the kids. There are some things that need to be changed, but she's great with the kids, and I feel like that's a good environment for my son. So I look forward to having conversations with you about ongoing services.
Great. Thanks, Mrs. Creed.
Thank you.
And ma'am, did you?
Yes.
Okay, would you come forward and just give us your name and your address for the record, please?
Sharon Johnson, 19 Pine Street. I also have a child in the YMCA who's been in the YMCA for many years. And the program, myself and my daughter, is great. It's like you have to have your child somewhere. You don't want them on the street. You want them in a safe place. I could have sent her to the boys' club, not bashing the boys' club, because the boys' club is good for the right person. I have a single child, and when you go in there, you know your child's going to be safe. If there was a problem, which children are children, there's going to be little incidents. The YMCA, the staffing, they write it up. They come and talk to you before you even see the child. You know exactly how their day has gone. And I know other programs, I've had my daughter in other places, and it's very different. I've found in the years that my daughter's been there that they teach respect. They, if the kids do well, they, compliment them on it. And if they might not do so well, they still get them so that they behave and they respect. And I think in today's society, I think kids need a lot more respect. And I found that it really worked for myself. And I hope that other people that are at the Y will feel the same way. And I think the pricing over the years has been adequate. They pay their staff. They have to pay them. And we get the service that we want for our children by them paying what they, how do I say it? I'm not a good speaker at all, but I'm just a parent.
Great, you're doing great.
You're doing wonderful.
Well, I'm just a parent that cares about my child and cares where they are and that they have good care, and I know when I go there, they're gonna be there and they're gonna be safe. And I just wanted everyone to know that the Y does a good program.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you. Thanks for stepping forward.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
Questions for the Y?
Yes.
Do you offer, effectively, the school district is offering, we're offering our space, and we're setting up a contract with you so that you'll know that you have our space and you'll be providing the program to our students for the next few years. We don't make money at it, but it's a service that we offer to our students. As you heard, the decision up here isn't how much you charge. It's whether or not we use your organization to provide the services or another organization. Because of that, I think many of the questions and comments, and we just saw that tonight with people that had some very positive things to say, and even when they had issues, they said that you addressed them. I think many of the questions that may come in from this being publicized in the press would be more appropriately directed in a public YMCA forum where the parents could come in, or future parents of Y kids could come in. Do you have anything like that, or parent meetings during the year?
Well, Lisa is more involved in the family programming that happens right at the branch, and I oversee the programs as they run specifically in the schools. And I have been affiliated with the YMCA in general since August, and with the Londonderry schools since December. And so far, in my relationship with the Londonderry schools, my interaction with the parents has been face-to-face and on the phone, like Mrs. Creed just shared with us. And in getting the feedback and talking to them about staff concerns and structural issues and the kinds of issues that come up with parents and children. So in terms of an institutionalized forum for parents or parent meetings, I have not had any involvement with that aspect of it. Now, when we have programming at the branch itself, where there's more of a family environment, we have parents' night out, where the parents drop the kids off, and they go out and do their own thing, and the children are cared for with activities and things at the branch. That's where a lot more of the parent and the family involvement piece takes place.
And I, myself, I'm Lisa Fitzgerald, I'm the branch director, and I am new to the Y as of December. It's funny because we hold open houses and all of that for our summer camp programs. I have not been through the whole school year to experience the full aspects of the SOP program. But that's a great idea, and we are most certainly not opposed to do it if it hasn't happened in the past. That's a great opportunity. We do it for our summer camp program, and I've held a couple of them. So, and as Mary had said, we're always on the phone with the parents, so it seems like there's constant communication, and even in the school systems, when the kids are being picked up and dropped off, there's that open door policy all the time, so we're constantly getting feedback from them. But most certainly would not be opposed to holding an open house or an open forum for that. by any means.
I don't need to tell you how to run your business. That's just that.
I think that's a great idea.
I mean, as an example, a parent could come in here next meeting and say, I don't want my child going to the Y, and you shouldn't support it because they come home with permanent marks all over them we really couldn't control that. That's your item. But.
And we feel like we do get a lot of feedback from the parents currently, within the program and in the staff, so.
And it's valuable feedback. I mean, for instance, Mrs. Creed's feedback from 18 months ago or so institutionalized the use of staff T-shirts, for example, that I saw, and then we started using it in our other sites. So a lot of times that feedback we really use, which is a strong practice, and any teacher in the room, and I know there are a couple of them back there, will tell you that strong educational practices come out of assessment. So if we get a parent who calls and has made an assessment of something that they like or something that they don't like, it either reinforces its use or reinforces that we need to make that change. So we really value that, as we value this feedback.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming down, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Awesome.
So
Thank
if
you
you
so
get that
much.
out there, we'll be back.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Peter. And next agenda item, I believe, is yours as well.
Yes.
Dogs on school grounds.
Yes, as I mentioned in my memo, I'm in the middle of updating both fields and facility use policy, and both address we'll address dogs and pets on school grounds. But I come tonight because it seems that as the weather was getting warmer, and I think compounded with the recent ordinance that the town passed on dogs on town fields, especially during activities. For some reason, this is the year we've been just inundated with dogs with their owners on school grounds, but in particular school grounds when events are taking place, games or practices. And there's been a couple instances where we have asked the owner to put the dog in the car or whatever, and have been told that, for instance, one case, the ordinance by the town does not address school fields, so you have no right to tell me to move my dog or put my dog in the car or whatever. So that's, as the weather is warmer and sports are in full gear and so forth and so on, what I'm kind of asking is the board allow the school district to put up no dogs allowed signs, I guess, for lack of a better word, now, and then, as I said, when we have the fields and facilities policy, that there's a sentence or two that addresses that in particular, so it becomes part of a policy when the board hopefully approves those two.
Okay, well, thanks for that explanation, and
Why don't you start over there?
we'll start over here.
Start over here.
We always start that end.
I don't know, there are a lot of thoughts that come to mind, like, you know, when they ban dogs, only outlaws will have dogs. Or, you know, I'll give up my leash when you pry it from my cold, dead fingers. I understand that this is something that echoes an ordinance that the town passed, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was a good one. I'm somebody whose house is overrun by dogs, and one of them is a fairly frequent visitor to the district office and is fairly popular here. I think that this is something that can be managed with a leash ordinance, a pooper scooper rule, signs to that effect. I don't think that there is a reason why we need to take the measure of saying no dogs allowed because some people are irresponsible. I think that maybe we ought to ban low-performance owners, not high-performance dogs.
Thanks, John. Steve?
I personally think that the town made the wrong decision. I think it's just foolish that it's okay to have guns on the town fields, but not a properly restrained dog. I don't see an issue with permitting dogs if they are under control, on a leash, and they're cleaned up after. And I think that that's a reasonable rule for us to have. We're the largest property owner in Londonderry, and they're on our property for a reason, because they don't have another place to go. And I think it's reasonable to ask them to leash their dogs and to clean up after them.
Thanks, Steve. Ron?
As an animal lover, and many of you know the number of animals I have on my properties.
Quack, quack.
Exactly. I'm in favor of this, and the reason is I was over at the Laffa Fields when a properly leashed dog bit a child in the face. And those things happen there, and those are the things that you're trying to avoid. We have children, we have liabilities. I've seen a lot of dogs and the kids being pulled away on middle school field day or track and field day when they have cross-country and 7,000 people there. There's numbers of dogs on there, and you've got oodles of people and they're pulling dogs back. I just don't think that in that type of circumstances, you have children that possibly could be teasing dogs. While they shouldn't be, they are. They're young kids that want to go pet a dog, and you have situations that arise. I just don't think the two of them match up when you have that number of people on an event on school property.
Thanks, Ron. Ben?
I'm with Ron. I don't think dogs should be permitted at sporting events. I mean, if it's on a Sunday and you want to walk your dog on school fields, I don't think I have a problem with that. But at an organized event, I would support Peter's notion that dogs would not be permitted.
And I think the town ordinance is exactly that. I think the dogs aren't allowed on the fields when kids are there.
That's
But
correct.
I'm not sure, and I also don't know, and Peter, maybe you can find out. I would imagine the town's got a leash law of some sort. You can't just allow your dog to roam around the neighborhood. I wouldn't think, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the
So
only,
there is a law indeed in place that says the dog has to be leashed. So that's an enforcement issue, and if it comes up, you deal with the enforcement officers, who in this case I would imagine the police or the code enforcement officer, but.
I believe that the definition of their law is the dog has to be leashed or under voice command, and I'm not actually comfortable with that.
I'm not comfortable with voice command.
So, yeah.
My kids don't listen.
And I think, you know, a compromise so that there isn't a sign that's like no dogs allowed around all of our properties, costing us a pile of money, and, you know, having it so that they're not at public gatherings, school gatherings, that's, you know, that's reasonable.
The reason for the request for no dogs in the grounds is we have both fields and playgrounds. So it becomes a sanitary issue because, unfortunately, to John's point, the people that we encounter, shall we say, don't always have the most common sense. And we have had issues where kids are out in the playground during school and have come back into the building and had to been, shall we say, cleaned because they were rolling around on the dirt or whatever in the playgrounds. And it wasn't during school activity. It probably was on a weekend or an evening. It's a sanitary issue that we're asking that no dogs are allowed on school grounds. I understand the specific of activities, and I would hope at minimum the board would agree with that. But the reason for the grounds was a sanitary issue where we've got issues where we got people walking the dogs either on the weekends or at night, and then kids are on the fields, whether it's a playground or a field, and come back and have to be cleaned. So, and unfortunately, it happens more than you and I can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
And that's the concern that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that concern. I do think that we can address it with a reasonably crafted set of rules for use of school district policy that requires cleaning up after your dog, that requires a leash. I understand the issue that Mr. Currow is talking about, but I don't know how we're going to manage the pigeon population, which I think is probably a more severe issue. I simply think that what we're trying to do is make our facilities available as openly as possible, and I think that the right to bring a dog on school property can be preserved as long as it's balanced with responsibility to follow the rules, the guidance that we set.
Anyone else? Yeah, and I think that from my own personal perspective is that, you know, enforcing leash laws that probably exist, I'm not going to say they do because I'm not sure that they do, but certainly letting people know that if the dogs are on school grounds, they need to be leashed, and you need to clean up after the dogs. I just don't want to make a decision based on, you know, a couple of things that I believe we can address through other instances, completely understanding what Ron says about, you know, the Laffa fields and, you know, where Ben's thoughts are. I don't think a dog on a leash is an issue at any point in time. That's just my opinion. So I guess we've got a split feeling on this. So, I mean, I'm not sure if, did somebody out there have comment? I'm sorry. Did I miss you guys? Oh, sorry. Okay. Yep.
A joke we might have missed?
I'm sure.
Nate?
Yes. Maybe we can reach a compromise here, because paramount, obviously sanitation is an issue, but I think the key issue for us is safety more than anything else. And I thought I had heard, or at least saw a nodding of people willing to agree that during outdoor activities, whether they're sporting events or what have you, that in fact not having dogs on the property at those events would be an appropriate thing, whether they're leashed or not leashed. You know, I'll give you an example. We had the track meet a couple of weeks ago. We must have had 500-600 kids involved in this thing, and oodles of parents. You've got even if you got a dog on a leash, kids are kids. Somebody gets bit, becomes a liability issue on our part too. So that if the board is kind of this way and that way about having dogs on the property, I think a prudent step would be to say that when we have events like that people should not bring their pets, their dogs there, whether they're leashed or they're unleashed.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that, but that's, I'm 1/5 here, so, I mean, I have no problem. I've been to hundreds of events over the years where, folks have dogs on their leashes, and I've not seen the dogs chase after a kid maliciously or anything else. So, I mean, I don't necessarily agree. John, sorry. John.
Yeah,
Well,
Beard.
listen, it's almost 9 o'clock.
The one thing I'd say to Mr. Greenberg's comment is, I could envision that happening, but I'd want to be real clear that we're talking about school events here. I don't want somebody to be able to say they're going to have a picnic at the Matthew Thornton playground, all of their own volition, and say this is now an event happening. You can't have your dog here.
Yeah, if that's that's,
From my perspective, my concern is when we have school-sponsored events and activities, or I would even go as far as saying, town-sanctioned events, whether they're Laffa games or what have you, that in fact there'd be a no dog rule, for lack of a better term.
And I'd want it to be school sanctioned, but I'm simply saying that because I want to avoid any potential unintended consequences of creating a situation where somebody playing frisbee can claim dibs on the field and get your dog off it.
John, I understand what you're saying, and that's not my issue. My issue is either school-sponsored activities and/or school-sanctioned activities, in the sense of saying, sports group A, Laffa can use our fields or what have you.
which they do.
Right, and because the simple fact of the matter is, and perhaps we're an overly litigious society.
We
We
are.
can bet that if something happens on a field, on one of our fields, in one of our games, with Mr. Smith or Mrs. Jones's dog, whether they're leashed or unleashed, we're gonna be right in the queue as far as litigation is concerned.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, I just don't agree that we should decide that a dog can't come to, a properly restrained and managed dog can't come to a first grader's LISA practice with the family. I think that that's part of what those days and what those events are. And in all the LAFAs and LISAs and everything else I've seen, I haven't seen people getting snapped at or bitten there.
So, all right, I guess we are kind of, Peter, I think we're split a bit.
Let me try, I'd like to make a motion that we ban dogs from all school-sponsored events. And that'll take out the sanctions, we'll stay at school-sponsored events.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, just so that I understand, we want to ban dogs at all school-sponsored
events. We'll
events
skip it.
on school grounds.
Except for CNI dogs.
Except
That's
for
obviously for working dogs.
for working dogs is the proper term, thank you.
Okay, so I have that motion, I have a second, and we'll take a vote. Oh, you want to discuss?
Yeah.
Okay. Steve? No? That's fine, John's got something to say.
Yeah,
so.
Again, I'm just
Go ahead,
thinking, I'm not necessarily against the proposal, I'm just thinking that it might need a bit more detail in its crafting, in that, for one thing, we've just banned Carol Mack from having Zippy the police dog come to an assembly.
I think I said working
That's a
dogs.
working dog.
Okay,
Working dogs.
then we've just banned somebody bringing their puppy to show and tell.
That you did,
That I understand.
that you did.
Okay. And I'm just saying that might be the unintended consequence of something worded quite that way.
I was certainly open for discussion, but there is a motion and a second,
Yeah,
so.
and I'll have discussion on that. 12 years ago, must be 12 or 15 years ago, I asked if I could bring the dog to, or actually my kids asked if the dog could come to show and tell, and the principal indicated that it would be okay as long as I didn't let anybody touch the dog. Well, after the show and tell part, there was no chance that I was going to be able to keep those kids away from touching the dog. And, you know, Max has since passed on, and most dogs, you know, would not tolerate being climbed on by 20 kids. He did. Again, what you're asking for in that motion, it's a reasonable restriction. To me, simply large gatherings, the dog should not be allowed. Pilots are allowed to fly 500 feet above the ground unless there's a gathering of people on the ground, at which point they must stay 1,000 feet above the ground. It's pretty simple. So to me, I'm comfortable with that. I just don't know if we need more in regards to the cleaning up and leashing during off hours and that type of thing, but,
That's an enforcement issue.
Sorry, Peter?
but the motion is,
That becomes an enforcement issue that's, for us, it's unenforceable if they're, right.
I
But don't we
understand.
have to publish the rule to have any hope of enforcing it?
No, the motion is not just to draft regulations. The motion is to ban dogs from school-sponsored events other than working dogs.
This is almost an operational type of issue in my mind.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second. Just so that we're all clear, the motion is to ban dogs from school-sponsored
Sponsored events.
events, except working dogs.
Except working dogs.
So I have that motion, I'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay.
No.
Nay. 3-2, passes.
We will craft up some wording.
Yep.
To address, John's issue, like bringing in, you know, and Steve's issue, bringing in the puppy for show and tell or what have you, so we can address that issue. I think the concern that we had really was issue on the fields, during athletic events. That was the intent, so it wasn't, you know, not being able to bring in somebody's Labrador or Retriever or something like that.
Well, no, that's, it's 3-2, that's the vote, let's let it go, and we'll move on.
That was a rough discussion.
No, it wasn't
It's not like we talk by email before we get here.
rough.
Yeah.
Mr.
It was
Chair,
fine. We reached a
Shaggy dog story.
agreement, and we
Mr.
went.
Chairman, I make a
Yes.
motion on policy IIAE, acceptable use for staff. This is for the third reading and adoption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on policy IIAE, the acceptable use for staff. This is for adoption. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0, Mary.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for policy IIAE, acceptable use for students. This is for the third reading for adoption.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second, policy IIAE, acceptable use for students. This is the third reading for adoption. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0, Mary.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we go into non-public session under RSA 91A3, Section 2, A through F.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second, and roll call, please.
Aye, Steve
George
Young.
Herman.
John Robinson.
It's like Cousin Brucey over there.
Exactly.
You know,
You know how hard it is to find somebody
We
who knows
told you a
Cousin
hawk or
Bruce
something.
is?
But
Don't say anything on the air.